Big sky shone orange-red as the sun began to set on Nova Taurus. Kim Dae-ho wiped sweat from his forehead as he checked his scanner one last time. He'd been tracking strange energy signals all day, and his legs ached from the long hike through the Rocky Hills. The colony had been on this planet for only 5 years, and there was still so much they didn't know about the local animals. Control base, this is Ranger Dae-ho. I'm heading to the Eastern Valley to check on that strange reading before heading back, he said into his comm device. Copy that, Dae-ho. Be careful out there. Night comes fast, replied the scratchy voice of Han Soo-bin, the night shift coordinator. Dae-ho adjusted his pack and made his way down the rocky slope. The valley was known for its tall purple grass that swayed like ocean waves in the light breeze. As he got closer, he heard a sound that made him freeze in his tracks. It was a deep, pained bellow that seemed to shake the very ground. Moving carefully through the grass, Dae-ho spotted it, a massive Taurus Maximus bull. The creature was huge, standing taller than 3 men. Its 6 powerful legs ended in hooves that could crush rock, and its thick body was covered in natural armor plates that shimmered blue-green in the fading light. Most striking were its horns, 3 pairs that glowed with shifting colors, now flashing angry red and painful yellow. The bull thrashed in pain, its massive body rolling and kicking up dirt. Dae-ho zoomed in with his visor and saw the problem. Right away, a jagged piece of metal was stuck deep in the creature's side between 2 armor plates. Dark purple blood oozed from the wound. "Oh no, big guy, what happened to you?" Dae-ho whispered. His comm device buzzed. "Dae-ho, we're picking up your location near a Taurus bull. Is everything okay?" Soo-bin asked, concern in her voice. "I found one of the bulls. It's hurt bad. Something metal is stuck in its side." There was a pause before Soo-bin replied. "Colony protocol is clear. If a wounded Taurus is near our settlement, it must be put down. Their distress calls can bring the whole herd, and you know what happened to the western outpost last year." Dae-ho remembered all too well. A herd of angry Taurus bulls had trampled the small research station after one of their young had been accidentally killed. 15 people had died that day. "I can help it," Dae-ho said firmly. "I'm not killing an innocent creature that's just in pain. Director Choi won't like this. It's too dangerous." The bull let out another pained bellow and tried to stand, only to collapse again. Its glowing horns pulsed weakly. "Send me the medical. Kit drop. I'm going to try something," Dae-ho said, making up his mind. He slowly approached the massive creature, keeping his movements smooth and calm. The bull's 4 eyes tracked him, glowing with fear and anger in the growing darkness. It tried to rise again, its massive head swinging toward Dae-ho. "Easy, big fellow," Dae-ho said softly. "I'm not here to hurt you." The bull snorted and pawed the ground with its front hooves. Dae-ho knew one charge from the beast could kill him instantly, even wounded as it was. He needed to gain its trust somehow. A small drone zipped overhead, dropping a red medical pack nearby. The sudden movement made the bull rear up, and Dae-ho had to dive behind a rock as one massive hoof smashed down where he'd been standing. "This isn't working," he muttered to himself. He thought for a moment, then pulled out his water canteen. The planet's hot days made all creatures thirsty. He poured some water into a small depression in the rock in front of him, then backed away. The bull watched him with suspicious eyes but caught the scent of water. After a painful struggle to its feet, it limped over and sniffed the small puddle, before lapping it up with its rough tongue. "That's it," Dae-ho said softly. "I'm a friend." He repeated this several times, moving the water closer to himself each time. The massive creature seemed to understand and grew less aggressive. Its horn lights shifted from angry red to a cautious blue. "Colony base to Dae-ho. What's your status?" crackled his comm. "I'm making progress. The bull is calming down," he replied, not taking his eyes off the creature. "Director Choi is sending Security Chief Park with a team. They have orders to terminate the threat." Dae-ho's heart sank. "Tell them to stand down. I can help this animal." He knew he had little time. The security team would arrive in less than 30 minutes. He needed to gain the bull's trust and remove the metal shard before then. "Hey, big guy, I'm going to call you Storm. Because you're strong like one," Dayho said as he inched closer. The bull, Storm, watched him with intelligent eyes. It was still clearly in pain, but it seemed to sense Dayho wasn't a threat. When he was just a few feet away, Dayho slowly reached out his hand. Storm snorted and backed up a step, but didn't charge. Dayho held perfectly still, hand outstretched, hardly daring to breathe. Then something amazing happened. Storm leaned forward and gently pressed its massive head against Dayho's palm. The connection was made. "I'm going to help you," Dayho whispered, "but you need to trust me." As the first stars appeared in the darkening sky, man and alien bull formed an unlikely bond, one that would soon change life on Nova Taurus forever. The night grew darker as Dayho sat cross-legged on the ground near Storm. The massive bull had settled down, though it still trembled with pain every few minutes. The metal shard in its side caught the moonlight, reminding Dayho that time was running out. "Colony base, I need more time," Dayho whispered into his comm. "Tell Chief Park to hold off. Storm is calm now." "Storm?" Subin's voice crackled back. "That's what I'm calling him," Dayho said, smiling at the giant creature. "He's not just some mindless beast. There's real intelligence in those eyes. You have 15 minutes before they arrive. Director Choi is furious," Subin warned. Dayho reached for the medical kit the drone had dropped earlier. He needed to examine the wound properly. Moving slowly, he approached Storm's injured side. The bull watched him carefully but didn't move. "Away. I need to check how bad it is, big guy," Dayho said softly. He'd learned from old-timers back on Earth that animals often responded to a calm, steady voice. As he got closer, he could see that the metal piece was actually part of a drilling machine, probably from the illegal mining operations in the mountains. The jagged metal had sliced between two of Storm's natural armor plates and was stuck deep in the flesh beneath. Storm's horns began to glow brighter, shifting from blue to a worried yellow. Dayho stopped moving. "It's okay, I'm not going to hurt you," he said. He reached out his hand again and placed it gently on Storm's side, away from the wound. The bull's skin felt warm and surprisingly soft between the armor plates, almost like leather. Dayho pulled out his scanner and ran it over Storm's body. The readings made him gasp. "Subin, you won't believe this. Storm's brain activity is off the charts. The neural complexity it's almost on par with humans." "That's impossible," Subin replied. "The science team classified them as mid-level intelligence at best." "The science team never got this close," Dayho said. "They're more than just big animals. I think they might be sentient." If understanding his words, Storm leaned his massive head down toward Dayho. The bull's 4 eyes blinked slowly, one pair after the other. This close, Dayho could see that each eye had different colored rings in the iris like tiny galaxies. Dayho's comm beeped with an incoming message from Chief Park. "We're 5 minutes out. Get clear of the target area." Dayho's heart raced. He needed to work fast. "Storm, I'm going to try something," he said. He pulled a small device from his pack, a sound generator that colony scientists used to study local wildlife. He'd modified it to create calming tones across multiple frequencies. He turned it on, and soft pulses of sound waves filled the air. Storm's ears twitched and his horns shifted to a curious purple glow. The bull seemed to relax slightly. With Storm distracted by the sounds, Dayho moved closer to the wound. He pulled out antiseptic spray and a pair of medical extraction tools from the kit. "This might hurt a bit," he warned. The moment he touched the metal shard, Storm bellowed in pain. The sound shook the ground, and Dayho stumbled backward. Storm's horns flashed angry red, and he pawed the ground with his front hooves. "Easy, easy." Dayho held up his hands. "I know it hurts. I'm trying to help." To his surprise, Storm stopped. The massive bull seemed to be considering him, its horns slowly shifting back to yellow and blue. Dayho realized that the creature was far more intelligent than anyone had guessed. He pulled out his personal tablet and opened a visual program. Quickly, he created a simple animation showing a stick figure removing something from a bull-like shape. Then the bull-like shape walking away happy. He held up the tablet for Storm to see. The bull leaned forward, its 4 eyes focusing intently on the screen. After a moment, Storm made a low rumbling sound, and nodded his massive head. Actually, nodded. You understand? Daeho whispered in amazement. You really understand? This comm crackled. We have visual on your position, Ranger Daeho, came Chief Park's stern voice. Move away from the target now. No, Daeho shouted. He's intelligent. He understands us. In the distance, Daeho could see flashlights moving through the tall grass. The security team had arrived with their stun rifles and tranquilizer guns. They wouldn't kill Storm immediately. Director Choi wouldn't want to waste a research specimen, but they would capture him and treat him like a mindless animal. Daeho had to prove Storm's intelligence before they arrived. An idea struck him. Storm, he said clearly, looking into the bull's eyes. If you understand me, flash your horns 3 times. The security team was getting closer. Daeho held his breath. Storm's horns remained steady for a long moment. Then, deliberately, they flashed bright white. Once, twice, 3 times. Did you see that? Daeho shouted into his comm. Did everyone see that? The approaching light stopped moving. What just happened? Chief Park's voice had lost its certainty. I asked him to flash his horns 3 times if he understood me, and he did it. Daeho was almost laughing with excitement. He's intelligent, he understands language. There was a long silence on the comm. Then Director Choi's voice came through. Ranger Daeho, are you certain this is no time for mistakes? I'm certain, Daeho replied firmly. Come and see for yourself. But come slowly and without weapons. He's in pain and scared. After a brief discussion, Director Choi agreed to approach with just Chief Park. The rest of the security team would stay back. While they waited, Daeho sat close to Storm, talking softly. You're changing everything, big guy. No one will look at your kind the same way after tonight. Storm made a low rumbling sound that almost felt like a response. His massive head dipped down, and gently he nudged Daeho's shoulder with his nose. A gesture that seemed almost like gratitude. As Director Choi and Chief Park appeared at the edge of the clearing, Storm's horns flashed nervously. Daeho placed a reassuring hand on the bull's side. It's okay, he said. These are friends too, and soon we're going to get that metal out and make you feel better. Storm's horns settled into a cautious blue glow as the 2 colony leaders approached, their faces filled with wonder at the sight of a human and an alien bull sitting together under the twin moons of Nova Taurus. A new chapter in human-alien relations had begun, all because one man had chosen compassion over fear. Director Choi stood frozen in place, her eyes wide with disbelief. Beside her, Chief Park kept his hand hovering over his stun gun, not quite ready to believe what he was seeing. Do it again, Director Choi said, her voice barely above a whisper. Daeho nodded and looked up at Storm. Can you flash your horns? Twice this time, buddy. Without hesitation, Storm's horns glowed bright white, flashing exactly twice before returning to a soft blue. Director Choi gasped and Chief Park's hand finally dropped away from his weapon. This changes everything, Director Choi said, running her hand through her graying hair. I need to call the science team immediately. What Storm needs right now isn't more people staring at him, Daeho said firmly. He needs medical help. That metal piece is causing him a lot of pain. Director Choi looked torn. This was a scientific discovery that could make her career, but the creature's suffering was clear. Park Sun-mi is still at the medical center, Chief Park offered. She's good with animals. She helped when those farm creatures got sick last month. Director Choi nodded. Call her. Tell her to bring a full field kit. While they waited for Park, Sun-mi too arrived. Daeho stayed close to Storm, talking softly to keep him calm. The massive bull seemed to understand they were trying to help, but pain made him restless. Every few minutes he would try to stand, only to collapse back down with a pained bellow. Stay still, big guy, Daeho soothed. Help is coming. Director Choi approached cautiously, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. The horns? They change color with his emotions? Daeho nodded. Blue seems to be calm. Red is pain or anger. Yellow might be worry or uncertainty. And the white flashes are communication, she said almost to herself. Deliberate communication. Storm watched them talk, his four eyes blinking in sequence. Then, to everyone's surprise, he made a series of low rumbles and clicks, his horns flashing in patterns. He's trying to talk to us, Deho realized. Before they could process this new development, lights appeared in the distance. A small transport vehicle hummed across the valley floor, coming to a stop at the edge of the clearing. Park Sunmi jumped out carrying two large medical cases. Sunmi was the colony's youngest doctor, barely 30, but she had quickly earned a reputation for her steady hands and calm approach. She took in the scene with wide eyes but showed no fear as she approached. "When Chief Park said you were treating an alien bull, I thought he was joking," she said, kneeling beside Deho. "This is incredible. He understands us," Deho explained quickly. "And he's in a lot of pain." Sunmi nodded and opened her cases. Inside were tools Deho had never seen before, gleaming in the moonlight. "I need to examine the wound first," she said. She looked up at Storm's massive head. "Hello there, big fellow. I'm going to help you feel better, but I need to touch where it hurts. Is that okay?" Storm's horns flashed once, and he lowered his body slightly to give her better access to his wounded side. He said yes. Deho translated, though it wasn't really necessary. Sunmi's face showed she understood. She approached the wound carefully, using a small light to see better in the darkness. "The metal is deep, lodged between two major muscle groups. It's missed the vital organs, which is lucky, but it's close to what I think might be a major blood vessel." "Can you get it out?" Director Choi asked. Sunmi bit her lip. "Yes, but it's going to hurt him a lot. We have no way to know if our painkillers would work on his biology, and giving him the wrong dose could kill him." Deho looked up at Storm. "Did you understand that? Getting the metal out will hurt, but leaving it in will make things worse." Storm made a low rumbling sound, and his horns flashed once. "He wants it out," Deho said. Sunmi began setting up her equipment. She laid out strange-looking tools on a sterile cloth, extractors, clamps, and something that looked like a small laser. "I need him to stay absolutely still when I'm working," she explained. "If he moves suddenly, the metal could shift and cause more damage." Chief Park stepped forward. "We have restraints in the transport." "No," Deho interrupted. "No restraints. He'll stay still if we ask him to." He looked up at Storm. "Right, buddy?" Storm's horns flashed once in agreement. Sunmi cleaned the area around the wound, washing away dried blood to get a clearer view. Storm flinched but didn't pull away. "Good boy," she murmured, the way she might talk to a patient back on Earth. "You're doing great." Deho positioned himself near Storm's head, where the bull could see him clearly. "Focus on me," he said. "I'll keep talking to you." Sunmi nodded that she was ready. "I'm going to count to 3, then start removing the metal," she told Storm. 1, 2, 3. As she began to work, Storm's whole body tensed. His horns flashed bright red with pain, but he didn't move. Deho kept talking, telling stories about Earth, about the oceans and mountains and the animals there. "We have creatures called elephants that are big like you," he said, trying to distract Storm from the pain. "They're incredibly smart too. They remember everything and everyone they've ever met." Storm's eyes stayed locked on Deho's face, even as Sunmi carefully worked the metal free. Sweat beaded on her forehead as she used her tools with precise movements. "Almost there," she muttered. "This piece is bigger than I thought." With a final careful pull, she extracted the metal shard. It was nearly the size of her hand, jagged and cruel-looking. Purple blood coated one end. "Got it," she announced. Storm made a sound that was almost a sigh of relief. His horns gradually shifted from red to a peaceful green color they hadn't seen before. "Now I need to clean and close the wound," Sunmi said. She pulled out a strange-looking gel. "This is a healing compound. It should work on his tissues, but we'll need to watch for any bad reactions." As she applied the gel, Storm's body relaxed. Further, the medicine seemed to be easing his pain immediately. "It's working," Deho said with relief. Sunmi finished by placing a flexible patch over the wound. "There. It's not pretty, but it should hold until his body heals itself." Director Choi had been recording everything on her tablet. "This is remarkable," she said. "The first medical procedure performed on a Taurus Maximus, and it was completely cooperative. As if understanding her words, Storm slowly rose to his feet. Everyone stepped back instinctively. Standing at his full height, the bull was truly massive, towering over them all. He shook himself gently, testing the patch on his side. It held firm. Then Storm did something none of them expected. He lowered his great head and gently pressed his forehead against Daeho's chest. The touch was light, almost like a hug. "He's saying thank you," Daeho whispered, fighting back tears. Storm pulled back and turned to Sunmi, repeating the gentle touch. "You're welcome," she said, her voice filled with wonder. Storm raised his head and looked at them all. His horns glowed with shifting patterns of blue, green, and a new color, a soft white that reminded Daeho of moonlight on snow. Then, without warning, Daeho felt something brush against his mind, like a whisper in a language he almost understood. From the startled looks on everyone's faces, they had felt it too. Did he just... Chief Park couldn't finish his sentence. "I think he did," Sunmi said, her eyes wide. "He tried to speak to us, in our minds." Director Choi's scientific caution gave way to pure wonder. Telepathy, they're telepathic. Storm's horns pulsed gently, and again they all felt that strange touch in their minds. Not words exactly, but feelings. Gratitude, friendship, and an invitation. "He wants us to come with him," Daeho said, somehow knowing it was true. "He wants to show us something." As if confirming his words, Storm took a few steps away, then turned back to look at them, waiting. The four humans exchanged glances. Their world had just changed forever, all because one ranger had chosen compassion over fear. "Well," Daeho said with a grin, "I guess we follow him." And under the twin moons of Nova Taurus they did. Storm led the small group of humans across the valley floor. The twin moons of Nova Taurus lit their path with silver light, making the tall purple grass shimmer like water. Daeho walked closest to Storm, with Sunmi just behind him. Director Choi and Chief Park followed at a cautious distance, still uncomfortable being so close to the massive alien bull. "Where do you think he's taking us?" Sunmi whispered to Daeho. "I'm not sure," he replied, "but I trust him." Storm moved slowly, occasionally looking back to make sure they were following. His wound didn't seem to be causing him much pain anymore, and his horns glowed with a peaceful blue light. They had been walking for about 20 minutes when Chief Park's comm device buzzed loudly. Everyone jumped, including Storm, whose horns flashed yellow with surprise. "It's the colony security team," Chief Park reported after checking the message. "They're tracking our position and want to know what's happening." Director Choi took the comm device. "Tell them to maintain their distance. We're conducting first contact procedures with an intelligent species." As Chief Park relayed the message, Daeho noticed Storm had become very still. The bull's ears were perked forward, and his horns had shifted to a pattern of pulsing purple lights. "He's listening for something," Daeho said quietly. Suddenly, Storm made a deep rumbling sound that seemed to vibrate through the ground beneath their feet. He repeated it 3 times, each rumble longer than the last. "What's he doing?" Director Choi asked, her scientific curiosity overcoming her caution. Before anyone could answer, they heard it, answering rumbles from somewhere in the darkness ahead. Storm's horns flashed with excitement and he turned to look at Daeho. I think he's calling his herd," Daeho realized aloud. Chief Park immediately reached for his stun gun. "We need to get out of here. Now. If the whole herd comes—" "No," Daeho interrupted. "Storm wouldn't bring us into danger. He's introducing us." As if to confirm Daeho's words, the soft touch of Storm's mind brushed against theirs again. This time the feeling was clearer. Images of many bulls gathering, peacefully, humans standing among them without fear. "He wants us to meet his family," Sunmi said, her eyes wide with wonder. Director Choi looked torn between scientific excitement and responsibility for their safety. "If you're wrong about this—" "I'm not," Daeho said firmly. They continued forward, climbing a small rise in the land. When they reached the top, the sight before them took their breath away. In a natural bowl-shaped valley ahead, illuminated by moonlight, stood at least a dozen Taurus bulls. They were gathered in a rough circle, their massive bodies creating shadows on the ground. Their horns glowed with shifting colors, creating a beautiful light show against the night sky. "It's like they're waiting for us," Sunmi whispered. Storm rumbled again and started down the slope toward the gathered herd. After a moment's hesitation, the humans followed. As they approached, the other bulls turned to watch them. Some pawed the ground nervously, their horns flashing with warning colors. Others simply stared, their four eyes blinking in sequence. Storm stopped at the edge of the circle and made a series of complicated sounds. His horns flashed in patterns that seemed meaningful, though the humans couldn't understand the messages. "He's telling them about us," Daeho guessed. "About how we helped him." One bull, larger than the others with horns that curved dramatically, stepped forward. This must be the herd leader. It approached Storm and touched horns with him briefly. Then it turned its massive head toward the humans. The mental touch was stronger this time. Not just feelings, but almost words, though still fuzzy and unclear. The impression of curiosity came through clearly, along with something that felt like gratitude. "He's thanking us for helping Storm," Sunmi said, somehow knowing she was right. Director Choi stepped forward slowly. "This is an historic moment," she said, her voice filled with awe. "The first official communication between humans and the Taurus species." The herd leader lowered its massive head to look at the humans more closely. Its four eyes studied them, with clear intelligence. "Hello," Director Choi said clearly. "We come in peace." The bull's horns flashed, and the mental touch came again, this time with an impression of welcome, mixed with caution. Daeho was about to speak when a loud buzzing sound cut through the peaceful moment. Everyone turned to see bright lights approaching fast from the direction of the colony. "Transport vehicles," Chief Park said, checking his comm device. "It's the full security team. They must have decided we're in danger." The effect on the herd was immediate. The bulls drew closer together, their horns flashing warning colors. Low rumbles of alarm spread through the group. No, Daeho muttered. "This is exactly what we don't need right now." 3 large transport vehicles crested the rise, their powerful headlights sweeping across the valley. They skidded too. A stop and colony security personnel poured out. Weapons raised. "Director Choi, Chief Park, get away from those creatures," shouted the security team leader, a tough woman named Jin Young-suk. The bulls began to move restlessly, their massive hooves stamping the ground. Storm's horns flashed red with alarm. "Hold your fire," Director Choi shouted, stepping between the security team and the bulls. "That's a direct order." Young-suk looked confused but signaled her team to lower their weapons. "Ma'am, protocol states." "Protocol doesn't apply here." Director Choi cut her off. "These creatures are intelligent and peaceful. We were in the middle of first contact." The situation balanced on a knife edge. The bulls were clearly frightened by the sudden arrival of armed humans, and the security team looked ready to shoot at the first sign of aggression. Daeho knew he had to do something. He walked calmly to the space between the two groups and faced the security team. "These are our friends," he said loudly and clearly. "They saved their wounded friend, and now they're trying to thank us." To everyone's shock, Storm moved forward and stood beside Daeho. The massive bull towered over him, but his posture was protective rather than threatening. The herd leader joined them, flanking Daeho on the other side. The security team stared, in disbelief. No one had ever seen the bulls act this way. "They understand us," Sunmi called out, joining Daeho. "They can communicate with their minds. We've been talking with them." Young-suk lowered her weapon completely. "Is this true, Director?" Director Choi nodded. "Completely true, and I believe we're witnessing the beginning of a new relationship between our species." As if understanding her words, the herd leader made a series of deep rumbles. Its horns flashed in a complex pattern, and then all the bulls in the herd began to do the same. The valley filled with rumbling sounds and flashing lights, creating a display unlike anything the humans had ever seen. "It's beautiful," Sunmi whispered. The mental touch came again, stronger than before, touching all the humans present. This time, the message was clearer. Friendship, alliance, and a future together on this world they all called home. Slowly, the security team put away their weapons. Young Suk approached cautiously, her eyes wide with wonder as she looked up at the massive bulls. "I never thought," she began, then stopped at a loss for words. Storm leaned down and gently touched his forehead to Daeho's shoulder, the gesture of thanks they had seen earlier. Then, to everyone's surprise, the herd leader did the same to Director Choi. "Think," Daeho said with a smile. "This is the beginning of something amazing." Under the twin moons of Nova Taurus, humans and bulls stood together in a circle of understanding. The night that had begun with fear and pain was ending with hope, and the promise of friendship between two very different species. And it had all started because one man had chosen to help rather than harm. 3 months passed in a blur of activity at Nova Taurus colony. The morning sun shone bright as Daeho finished packing his field kit. From his small cabin on the colony's edge, he could see the valley where he had first met Storm. How much had changed since that night. "Ready for today's trip?" Sunmi asked, entering the cabin with 2 steaming cups of coffee. She handed one to Daeho and sat beside him on the small porch. "Always ready," he replied with a smile. "The western herd is moving to new grazing grounds. Storm sent a message that they want us to come along." After that first meeting with the bulls, life on Nova Taurus had transformed. Director Choi had immediately established the Taurus Communication Project, with Daeho and Sunmi as its leads. Their job was simple yet world-changing: build a bridge of understanding between humans and the Taurus bulls. "I never get tired of it," Sunmi said, sipping her coffee. "Every day we learn something new about them." In the first weeks, they had discovered that the bulls' telepathic abilities grew stronger with regular contact. What began as vague feelings became clearer images, and eventually simple words. Now, 3 months in, full conversations were possible, though still limited. A low rumble from outside made them both look up. Storm stood at the edge of the clearing, his massive form outlined against the morning sky. His horns glowed a friendly blue, and the wound on his side had healed completely, leaving only a small patch of differently colored hide. "Right on time," Daeho said, setting down his coffee. He grabbed his pack and the special headset Sunmi had designed. The device amplified the bull's telepathic signals, making communication easier. "Morning, Storm," Daeho called out as they approached. The familiar mental touch brushed against their minds. "Friends come." "Herd waits." Though still simple, the bull's mental words filled Daeho with wonder every time. He remembered how Director Choi had cried the first time Storm had formed a complete sentence in their minds. "We're ready," Sunmi replied, adjusting her own headset. They climbed onto the small transport vehicle and followed as Storm led the way across the valley. The bull moved with powerful strides, occasionally looking back to make sure they were following. After about 20 minutes, they reached a wide-open area where the western herd had gathered. Nearly 30 bulls stood in loose groups, their horns glowing with different colors as they communicated among themselves. Several younger bulls, not quite calves but not fully grown, raced around the edges playing what looked like a game of tag. The sight still took Daeho's breath away, even after all these months. "Look at the little ones," Sunmi said with a grin. "They've grown so much." The herd leader, whom they had named Thunder, approached them. Larger than all the others, with scars on his armor plates from old battles, Thunder had been cautious at first. Now he greeted them like old friends. "Humans come." "Good." Thunder's mental voice was deeper than Storm's, carrying more weight somehow. "We're happy to join you," Daeho said. "How is the herd?" "Herd strong. New grass good." Thunder projected an image of the western valleys, rich with the purple grass the bulls loved to eat. "And how is the new communication system working?" Sunmi asked, pointing to the small device attached to one of Thunder's horns. It was her invention, a translator that helped strengthen and clarify the bull's mental messages. Thunder's horns flashed with what they now recognized as amusement. "Small thing helps," words clearer. One of the younger bulls bounded up to them, nearly knocking Sunmi over in his excitement. This was Pebble, Storm's nephew, who had taken a special liking to Sunmi after she had helped deliver his sister last month. Sunmi, watch me run. The young bull's mental voice was bright and bubbling with energy. Without waiting for a response, he took off, racing around the gathered herd with impressive speed. Sunmi laughed. He's getting faster every day. The morning passed pleasantly as they prepared to join the herd on their migration. Daeho and Sunmi had been mapping the bulls' traditional routes, learning about their social structure and feeding patterns. The data they collected was helping build a plan for humans and bulls to share the planet peacefully. Around midday, their comm devices buzzed with an incoming message. Director Choi's voice came through, sounding tense. Daeho, Sunmi, we need you back at the colony immediately. The sensors are picking up unusual seismic activity in the northern mountains. Daeho frowned. How bad is it? Bad enough that we're preparing evacuation protocols. The readings suggest a possible major earthquake within the next 12 hours. Thunder, who had been standing nearby, turned his massive head toward them. Earth shakes? Yes, Daeho nodded. Our machines say the ground will shake soon. Could be dangerous. Thunder's horns flashed with concern. He made a series of deep, rumbling calls that echoed across the valley. The other bulls stopped what they were doing and gathered around. We feel it too. Thunder's mental voice was grave. Earth speaks to us. Bad shake coming. Very bad. This was new information. You can sense earthquakes before they happen? Sunmi asked, excitement in her voice despite the danger. Yes, through hooves. Earth sings warning songs. Thunder stamped. One massive foot on the ground for emphasis. Daeho and Sunmi exchanged glances. This could be vital information. Can you tell which direction the danger is coming from? Daeho asked. In response, all the bulls in the herd turned to face northeast, toward the colony. Their horns flashed in unison, a deep, worried red. Daeho's blood ran cold. The colony is directly in the path. We need to warn them, Sunmi said, already reaching for her comm device. But Thunder wasn't finished. Not just shake. Mountain breaks. Water comes. It took a moment for Daeho to understand. A landslide and flood, the reservoir above the colony, could burst if there's a big enough quake. Yes. Much water. Fast water. Thunder's mental images showed a wall of water rushing down from the mountains, sweeping away everything in its path. Director Choi, Sunmi said into her comm, we have new information. The bulls can sense the earthquake coming. They say it's going to cause a landslide that will break the reservoir dam. The colony is in danger of flooding. There was a moment of silence before Director Choi replied. Are you certain? Our sensors haven't detected any danger to the dam. I trust them, Daeho said firmly. They've lived on this planet far longer than we have. They understand it in ways our machines don't. Another pause. I'll order an immediate evacuation to higher ground, Director Choi finally said. But we have over 300 people to move, and our transport capacity is limited. Thunder had been listening through the translator device. His horns flashed with determination, and he made another series of calls to the herd. We help, he told Daeho and Sunmi. Bulls carry small humans. Move fast. Storm moved forward, lowering himself to the ground in a clear invitation. I carry two. Others do same. Daeho could hardly believe what he was hearing. You would do that for us? Friends help friends, Storm replied simply. This our world. Your world now too. We protect together. Tears sprang to Daeho's eyes. He quickly explained the bull's offer to Director Choi. That's incredible, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Tell them yes. We accept their help with the deepest gratitude. What followed was unlike anything the colony had ever seen. 200 Taurus bulls, led by Thunder and Storm, arrived at the colony an hour later. Some colonists were afraid at first, backing away from the massive creatures. But when young children were gently lifted onto the bulls' backs, their parents quickly overcame their fear. Daeho would never forget the sight of the evacuation, a long line of bulls carrying humans to safety, moving quickly across the valley, toward the southern highlands. The older and weaker colonists rode on the largest bulls, while stronger adults carried what supplies they could and jogged alongside. Just as the last group reached the safety of higher ground, the earth began to tremble. The bulls' horns flashed warning colors and they formed a protective circle around the humans. The quake lasted for 3 minutes, shaking the ground violently. From their vantage point, they watched in horror as part of the mountain collapsed, destroying the reservoir dam. A massive wall of water rushed down the valley, hitting the colony with devastating force. Buildings crumbled, swept away like toys, but not a single human life was lost. Because of the bulls' warning, everyone had escaped in time. As night fell, humans and bulls rested together under the stars. Many of the colonists were openly weeping, overcome by the loss of their homes, but grateful to be alive. Children slept, curled against the warm sides of the bulls who had carried them to safety. Director Choi found Daeho sitting beside Storm, watching the makeshift camp. "You know what this means, don't you?" she asked quietly. Daeho nodded. "It means we're not just visitors on their world anymore. We're partners." Storm's mental touch was gentle. Family now, bulls and humans together, under the twin moons of Nova. Taurus, a new kind of community, was born, one that would grow and thrive for generations to come. And it had all started because one human had stopped to help a wounded bull. "Your kindness," Storm told Daeho, "changed everything." And looking around at humans and bulls living and working together in harmony, Daeho knew it was true. Sometimes, the bravest thing you could do was to choose compassion over fear.